G'day there, everyone. Welcome back to another vocal live hangout. I nearly got it wrong. I nearly got it wrong again. I overthink it. I think I overthink the introduction. Like I go to do it anyway. I hope you're all having a great completion of your weekend, or if you're like Linda and I and you're already into the new week, I hope your week has started well. I just saw Rebecca's comment. Hi, Rebecca. Good to see you. Rebecca's comment in the chat saying we make her Sunday evenings in Texas fantastic. I am so pleased to hear that, Rebecca. I'm so pleased that you're getting, good stuff out of it, and it's cool. We love hanging out with you too. You make our Monday mornings fantastic. Well, Monday afternoons, because it's 1 p.m. here in Brisbane, Australia. The weather has improved. We I think I shared with you all last week. We were kind of drowning here in very unseasonal weather. Very unseasonal weather. Anyway, we're all starting to dry up, and which is good. Apparently, it is World Humanitarian Day, World Photography Day, and wait for it, World Orangutan Day today, apparently. So I am reliably informed by Linda. World Orangutan Day. I guess that's a thing. I guess that's a thing. Of course, for some of you who are still in your Sunday, you may not yet be in World Orangutan Day, but now you know. Tomorrow, when you wake up, humanitarian photography orangutans. None of them have anything in common. I guess you could take photos of orangutans being cared for by humanitarians. That's how you could connect it all. Today we're doing a Q&A, and so you're going to ask the questions. I'm going to provide the answers to the best of my ability, and that'll be a lot of fun in a moment. Just to let you know, next week we've got Joanne Bozeman joining us. Joanne is the better half. I say that with tongue in cheek. She is the other half of Ken Bozeman. Many of you know Ken. Ken's been on the show many times talking about formants and registration and resonance, and he's kind of one of the world leaders in that field. Joanne has been on the show before as well, but Joanne has previously come on to the show to talk about women's business, the effect of hormones and menopause and those sorts of things on the voice. This time, though, she's going to be coming onto the show. We're going to be talking about hypermobility. And I think there's quite a few of you that might find that really interesting. Currently I teach a student who has hypermobility, and it can have a lot of pain associated with it in the joints. And anyway, we're going to talk about that and the effect that it has on the voice, and certainly how and she's been doing research with someone, and I think it's going to be really fascinating. And often when we explore these topics outside of what may be necessarily important to us personally, we still learn things about the voice that we can take on board for us personally. So I encourage you, it's likely that you don't suffer from hypermobility. If you do, then you're definitely going to want to tune in. But if you don't, but still tune in. You are going to learn stuff, and when we build this broad knowledge of the voice, it empowers us. Like we say here at Voice Essentials, when you know more, you can sing more, and so we're going to explore that next week. And then the week after that, we'll do another Q&A. The week after that, we're going to do a mini topic. And then I'm going to be on a week's leave. And anyway, I won't talk further into that. We've got other guests coming up later in the year, which is good. Now I will let you know also when I was feeling quite chuffed this morning because I was thinking, I've got all the technical stuff's all working, and I knew in the lead up to doing today's show that I'd been told by the software company the software that I use to do these live streams called Wirecast, that they'd sorted out all the errors which wasn't allowing me to put up the questions live. You know how I like to put the questions up live on screen? And anyway, lo and behold, I go to turn it on and it's not working. It's still not working. I've sent them another support ticket. So we can't put your questions up live onto the screen, but as usual, you throw them into the chat and I'll read them out and then we'll answer them as we go along. Today's group question, the poll that we are running, is what area of your voice development do you find the most challenging when learning to sing? So there's four options: breath management and control, the management of your breath; pitch accuracy; building vocal strength and stamina; and overcoming stage fright, nerves, performance anxiety. And so I will tell you all the results of that poll a little bit later. There's been 14 votes so far, and the result so far is interesting. The result is there's one dominant one, and so make sure you place your thing. And there's no right or wrong. It's whatever you find the most difficult. But it's always interesting. I always find these polls and the outcome of them quite interesting. So yeah, that's good. Let's get into some questions. We should do that, shouldn't we? We should do that. Here we go. Oh, and I've got a question for you, and you can let me know in the chat. Is the audio okay today? I've added another little extra layer of technical stuff to my audio called a compressor to make sure that nothing can, that the mic doesn't distort and doesn't get carried away. Let me know if the audio, my video and my speaking, and it's all, because there's a little thing called latency, and so I've made a few little adjustments. I'm always looking to improve things. We want to. Yes. Oh, that's good. Linda's telling me the audio is good. That's good. That's good. I'm glad. Okay, let's have a look at some questions. Michael Ortega, can you react to Celine Dion C6 mix voice collection? Possibly not, Michael. When I do my reaction video, I won't say no, Michael, but I won't make a commitment to it. When I do my live reaction videos, I'm very much looking. I go in search of live performances. That is one take, beginning to end. Sometimes they've been edited in fact, most of what we hear today has been edited in post. That is, it's been, engineered, mixed differently so that it sounds quite different after the actual performance. But I go looking for beginning to end one take performances, because I think that's of the most value to us here at the Voice Essentials channel. I know online you can find a whole range of people doing reaction videos, but again, we're a Learn to Sing channel here, and I always want what we do here at Voice Essentials to be very much focused on the education, on the instruction, the learning. What can we gain from observing more often than not, brilliant singers. And what can we take away from their performance? The reason I go looking for one take performances and live performances is because that's what you and I are typically doing. We're not stepping into high quality studios, singing on mics that are $10,000 worth of, and then having someone, and then doing how many, 40 odd takes of a particular phrase just to capture the right one. You and I are generally, when you're recording, you're doing your stuff at home and you're recording, a lot of you are hitting record on your smartphone and just away you go. And you're doing it beginning to end. You're not then editing it down. You're just literally capturing the moment. And so when I provide the educational lens of these performers, I'm wanting you to be able to glean things from that so that you can take those away and apply those to your one-take recordings. That's the whole point. I can tell you it took me a long time to find the right educational angle to do these reaction videos for us all, because I really struggled with the concept in the first instance. But we got there. I think I've done well over 100 now, but it took me a long time to sort of really think through, but I want this to be educational. I don't want it just to be entertaining. And furthermore, let me tell you, before we go into another question, can I just say I've in the last couple of weeks, I've been really heavily exploring my own, and I think I shared in the newsletter, I'm currently really learning. I'm on a steep learning curve around doing my own recording here in the studio and then editing that in a DAW, what's called a digital audio workstation. So I'm using a program called Ableton. I started off with Pro Tools. I just went, I don't have time to learn this. This is too intense. And then a student actually recommended Ableton, and I was up and running within an hour. I was producing stuff. There's a lot to it, even in Ableton. But can I tell you, in playing around with Ableton and recording here in the studio and using pretty, for what I've got relatively decent gear, certainly not studio level, but home studio, it's pretty good. Can I tell you, it reinforces for me the notion that so much of what we hear online has been edited in post. And because it is so difficult, you just can't capture a wonderful performance, without all of the compression, the de-essing, the equalizers. There is so much happening. Just the reverb. There is so much that goes into making a recording sound half decent, and that it once again it reminds me that wow, there's just so much going on here. And anyway, I'm actually quite loving it. I'm loving the learning. My brain is a bit too busy with it at the moment. I've got to take a step back from it over the next week and just take a chill pill, but because I've been like a bit obsessive. But it's been a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. But wow, and what an art form. It's amazing as an art form. Vava has asked a question here. Hello, Dr. Dan. I hope you had a great day. My question, I have had a pretty good day. Thanks, Vava. I'm like I said, just humming along. My question is it possible to get some sort of inflammation similar to laryngitis because of practicing too many vocal exercises out of nowhere? Vava, absolutely. Absolutely. Inflammation So we often talk about viral infection-driven inflammation, but we can also have vocal load / vocal dose induced inflammation. You're completely healthy, but you've simply worked the voice too hard. Everybody has a vocal limit. We are biological instruments. Our body's protective mechanisms are generally result in inflammation. Our body goes, I need to protect myself. I shall inflame. I shall, try to, in the vocal folds case, the vocal folds will try to retain some fluid to cushion the impact, what's called the shearing force of the vocal folds, so that they don't get damaged. And that's, on one level, that's a good thing. On another level, though, if you ignore the signs that is taking place and you push beyond that, you are now in the zone of wear and tear. And if you push beyond that, you could find yourself in the zone of damage. And so absolutely, you've got to take note of these situations. Now, what you can do in with your practice, if you're finding that your practice is leading to, inflammation of the larynx and of the vocal folds, then cut your practice in half. Do 15 minutes, take 15 minutes break, and then come back and do another 15 minutes. And this, I'm talking about the start of your vocal journey. We ultimately want to be able to build up to practicing for about an hour, but even some people will still find that they have to break that into 2 half-hour segments. It's a matter of you learning your body, your instrument, and understanding what is going to work best for you and managing it accordingly. But in answer to your direct question, Vava, absolutely, you do not have to be sick for the vocal folds to edema and start to cause issues. Hey, how many people have we got? We've had 16 votes, and one of the answers for the poll today is still ahead by a considerable amount. We'll have a look at that a little bit later. Rebecca Martin has asked, Dana, my sister, Dr. Dana, my sister Rachel would like to know, are you on Instagram? I am. Yes, I am on Instagram, but I used to really, I don't, I'll be honest with you and tell you, I don't spend a lot of time there. I spend time I don't spend a lot of time on social media in general, outside of the Voice Essentials community group and YouTube. And why? Is because I don't have time. And I think it's partly a generational thing. I am that last generation that can still remember life before computers. And so I don't feel a terrible need to be on social media. I'm even that person that forgets to take photos of things when I'm places because I'm so captivated in experiencing the moment in the moment that I can forget to capture the moment for later, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. Maybe that's just an excuse. We were having a big conversation with my 16-year-old last night about social media, and she's not allowed. We're one of those very strict parents who doesn't allow their kids social media until much older, and so Taran still doesn't have access to social media. And and anyway, we're having a big conversation about that. And yeah, so to answer your question, yes, I am on Instagram, but no, I'm not on Instagram. I don't know if that's helpful. I'm going to come down to Mr. Fomiati's question. G'day, Mr. Fomiati. I hope you are well. I've recently been exploring how loud and soft I sing using headphones. How do dynamics help when singing to maintain stamina and best practice? Certainly dynamics will have an impact on your stamina, in the sense that if you spent your entire set belting, then you are going to fatigue much more quickly than if you are singing in a very middle of the road dynamic. Equally, the voice can fatigue quite heavily when we're singing really softly as well. That can be quite tiring, because it can be quite drying to the vocal folds, because you're kind of passing excess air over the surface of the vocal folds, which can be quite drying, depending on how you're achieving that breathiness, I guess. And so certainly the movement of that dynamic can have an impact on your sense of stamina. But I would, at the end of the day, dynamics have to be a part of your vocals, Mr. Fomiati. So you again have to learn to manage that, and think about your mic position. If you're recording at home, are you recording to a mic that's placed on a stand, or are you holding it? Preferably when we're recording for, to do work in post and whatever, we're generally wanting it to be on a stand, so that we're not bumping it and causing any mic handling issues and sounds. But I know, Mr. Fomiati, you know these things. So yeah, I guess managing dynamics from the point of view that you want to just not be so crazy loud and not be so crazy soft that you kind of, in one sense, you become your own compressor, and just be mindful of those limits. Have I answered that question for you? Is that the question you were asking, Mr. Fomiati? I'm left wondering whether it is. Michael has come back in regards to that Celine Dion thing we were talking about before. I'm just curious, have you watched Celine Dion Purple Rain performance when she sustains the C6 belt? Are those mixed voice or mask-placed head voice? I haven't watched it, Michael, so I really can't. And well, I possibly have, but I can't remember it specifically. You know how you watch a lot of stuff over the years, right? So I may well have seen it, but it doesn't come ready to mind. And a C6 belt, I would have to hear it to know whether I would nominate it as being belt or simply a reinforced mix. Not to mention then asking ourselves the question, what's been done to it in post, if there's anything that's been done to it in post. Incidentally, for those of you who are not familiar with the lingo, when we talk about in post, we're talking about the post-production, the added signal change, the stuff that's happening to the voice after it's been done live, and then it gets taken into an editing suite and they post-produce what was done in the moment. I would have to have a look, Michael, to be able to give you a quality answer, and I don't think I can. Going to come back to Vava's question. Vava's got another one. Dr. Dan, I have another question. Is it possible to sing very, very well while dancing? K-pop singers do it a lot, but I heard a vocal coach saying that you have to sacrifice sound to do it. Is it true? You have to remember, again, it comes back to we're human beings. We're not robots. And so what happens when we dance? Our aerobic and cardio activity increases. We have a heightened movement of blood, and so our heart is pumping harder, and our breathing tends to become a bit more shallow, and so we start to work, right? Think about what would happen if you went for a run. What's going to happen to your breathing? And we know that we can, and really elite sports people, one of the things they talk about in making a judgment around your cardio fitness and your aerobic fitness is how well can you speak while you are running. At the peak of your performance while running, how well can you talk? People who are short of breath will struggle to talk. And so when we apply that knowledge, that observation to our singing, what's going to happen for someone who is needing to dance and sing? Well, you've got a heightened activity of voice, the singing, it's more so than speaking, and you've got this heightened aerobic activity going on, which is leading me, and so you can see what the potential outcome of that is. Now, what we can hope is that a lot of the performers that we see doing a lot of this stuff is that they have been working on their cardio, they have been working on their aerobic fitness, and so they are more able to sustain voice. But there's often, and I'm going to be very, because the moment whenever I'm too categoric, I always get comments or messages or saying, you can't say that. Well, there's a bit of, again, a bit of trickery, not trickery, because no one's doing it to trick anyone. It's the modern mixing and engineering where you'll often have a pre-record vocal alongside a live vocal, and your engineer at the front of house desk is often riding both of those. And so if he starts to hear that, hang on a second, the singer's starting to struggle a bit, he'll push up the pre-record vocal so that it covers the live, and then the moment that maybe the cardio starts to be a bit easier and the singer's not moving around, back up comes the live, and so they're mixing between the two. And that way too, when said artist turns around and says and starts talking to the audience and says, "Hey, I'm just checking. Oh, just checking that wasn't Linda. I got a message." When they start to talk to the audience, oh, they're live, and so you can see you would never know that they're going between the two because the artist hasn't done anything. It's all being done back at the desk, and so they're moving between those two, and so it's nothing is ever as it seems or sounds. Yeah, there's back in the day. Do you remember magazines? Are you old enough to remember magazines? I can remember magazines. It was before this thing called the internet. We had these things called books and magazines. And there was an education for people when magazines started to be edited digitally, and photos started to be digitally edited. People started to become aware that actually that person doesn't look like that in real life. What they've put onto the front of Vogue or Cosmopolitan or whatever the magazine was, that model maybe is a bit bigger in size, or doesn't have, in real life, has more blemishes on their face, or whatever it is, and they would digitally enhance it. And we all became very aware in time that what we were looking at was not real. It had been doctored. I think we still, for a lot of people, there's still a need for that understanding around what they see and hear from a performer when they're watching them live. Again, I'm not suggesting anything untowards. When I'm, now that I'm really getting into the whole, audio engineering thing and playing with my own voice, and there's so much that you can do that is not designed to trick anyone, because I can sing. You'd hope so, wouldn't you? I can sing, but to make it presentable, it has to be dressed up. And it's the same with everyone else as well. So when it comes to dancing while singing, apply a healthy dose of doubt to what you are observing, I think. That's a good way to approach it. A healthy thing of doubt. Okay, let me come down here. Rebecca is asking, what is your favorite song to sing, Dr. Dan? What is your favorite song to sing? Oh, I've had a number of songs over the years that I've loved singing. I love singing Broken Vow, the Josh Groban. It's actually a Lara Fabian written piece. I first heard it sung by Josh Groban. It is one of those songs that it literally stops traffic. And it's more about the song than it is about the singer. It's just so rich in emotion. There's a beautiful little song, Because She Loved Me, from Toy Story, which I love singing. I used to be really into big music theatre belt ballads. That was what I was often hired a lot to do as a younger person. I'm not so much into that anymore. Maybe because I ticked that box and went, yeah, I can do that. These days I'm into more quiet and intimate and songs that will allow me to explore tone and timbre, something that I didn't afford myself the opportunity to do when I was a lot younger. And so now I really enjoy that. Because predominantly I play and perform worship songs for church, I do enjoy preparing songs, worship choruses to be almost more of an item, which I'll usually do during communion or those sorts of things. I enjoy that. And just purely for sake of time, I've been thinking to myself, maybe I probably need to do more covers, not non-Christian songs, which I have no problem in doing. But it just comes down to time. I'm often learning new church choruses, and so I just don't have time to learn anything else. So when you see me uploading stuff to the Facebook community page for people to just like everyone else does, and it's worship choruses, there, I can tell you, just let me make a statement. I have no agenda, you know, from a faith-based viewpoint to try to influence anyone in any ideology, any which way. The reason I am presenting worship choruses is purely because that's all I've got time to do, because that's what I am typically singing. So that being said, I do have the intention this year of joining in, and this will come down to if it's run again by Kathy. Kathy Schneider runs our. It would be the third year if we do it this year. I want to participate this year in the Christmas, the Christmas song. You know, where we all put our name in the bucket and pick a song out for me. So anyway, there you go. So yeah, I don't know if that helps, Rebecca. Lawrence, can a woman be trained to sing bass or tenor parts? I understand that Vivaldi worked in a girls' orphanage where he taught women to do that. If so, is it difficult for them? I'll take you at face value when you talk about Vivaldi doing it. But we're going back, what, to the 15th century, 16th century for Vivaldi. Maybe, anyway, it's been a long time since I did my classical history. So what we probably don't know around Vivaldi is, was he purely getting people those ladies to sing an octave lower and sing those parts? I think that's more likely. You can't change your anatomy. I'm not talking about, you know, issues around gender and, you know, transgender, etc. I'm talking about the fact that I, as a tenor, can't suddenly become a soprano. Can't be done. I can't even become a baritone as much as I might want to. And similarly, a baritone can't suddenly become a tenor, even with a whole heap of work. That is likely to lead to some real challenges for that singer on a physical level. Can that baritone play in the area of the upper reaches of their voice? Of course they can. Can they build more efficiency around that? Of course they can. But will that voice develop into a tenor, having been a baritone? No. Similarly, can we take a soprano and make her a tenor? No, we can't. Outside of that individual being treated with hormone therapy, and I'm pretty certain that we can suggest that Vivaldi wasn't doing that. So it would be interesting to know the finer details. The devil's always in the detail, isn't it? The devil is always in the detail. How are we going for responses to our poll? Whoa, 27 votes. That's awesome. 27 votes. I'm going to answer one more question. Then I'm going to come to the answer, not the answer, how that all played out. You know, who voted what you told us. Let's go to, I want to come to, I'm going to go to Destiny Lord because we haven't answered one for Destiny today. Is it possible for tenor male to sing 5th octave female range stuff? Well, Destiny, I think I might have answered that question already. Let me come back to your next question. Also, does anyone notice that expanding low range is far harder than expanding upper range? You make a really good point here, Destiny. It is so important that you develop your entire voice, because of the modern fascination with higher is better, is louder is better. We often do that to the complete what's the right word? Not denial, but we just don't spend enough time working on our lower voice. And so learning to manage your voice down low is really important. Never do, work on your upper register to I can't think of the right, there's a right word for what I'm trying to say. Hopefully you're picking it up. Never ignore. That's not the word I'm looking for, but don't ignore your lower register, and spend time down there. I know that I have been over the probably last 5, 6, maybe 10 years. I've spent far more time developing my lower range, my lower voice, because I've been wanting to have more warmth, wanting to have more shape in that lower space so that it was usable, so that I had a full palette of color, and my lower space has developed. Will it ever be a baritone? Sadly, no. Sadly, no. But you work with what you got, and it's so important to approach this from a strength-based point of view. Enhance what you're good at and work at what you are not. Okay, let's go to our end. We're ending the poll. Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we are ending the poll. Okay, so as you can see, after 27 votes, we had 44% of you are finding breath management challenging, nearly half. And then building strength and stamina and pitch accuracy, a quarter of you were in those. I must admit, I had presumed, incorrectly it would seem, that pitch accuracy was going to be the thing for a lot of you. I'm kind of tickled that it isn't. I must say, I really am kind of tickled. The reason being is we spend so much time here at Voice Essentials trying to reassure everyone that pitch accuracy should not be your holus bolus focus until a certain point, in your vocal development. And so I'm hoping that result speaks to the fact that maybe that message is getting across. Can I tell you, and this is not why I put the question up, but there are so many good breath management activities within the Voice Essentials program, the online courses, the exercises. So if you already have those, if you're already enrolled in those and you're finding your breath management a challenge, go back to them. Breath management, firstly, is so foundational. It's so important. But secondly, it's also the area of your voice that will take the longest for you to really feel like you're getting something out of it. I can tell you though, if you stay the course and you really develop your breath management and it becomes, you see improvement, the far-reaching benefits to your voice, significant, so significant. So there we go. That was a good hangout. I really wish I could have put your questions up onto screen, but I've put another support ticket in. We'll hopefully hear back from them all. We'll call it a day, peeps. I hope you have a great week. Next week, Joanne Bozeman. It's going to be a fascinating topic. I'm so looking forward to learning more about it, in part so I can help those students who come with hypermobility, but also because I think it's a topic that is not understood well, and so that will be good. Thanks very much, everyone. Please hit the thumbs up button if you've enjoyed today's live hangout. I didn't overthink that. I just said live hangout, and And instead of thinking, you know what I'm saying? Like, it just came out because that's what we're doing. We're not doing a vocal analysis video. We're doing a live hangout. I do hope you have a great week. We'll catch up next week. Stay safe. Sing well, because I'm Dr. Dan Singwell.